Hello and welcome to the Knitmancy podcast. I am your host, Valentina, coming at you from just south of Richmond, Virginia. And yeah, you can find all of my social medias down below, but just as a quick run through, you can find me on Instagram as Middle of the Madness. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/gnollprincess. You can find me on Ravelry if you are still using Ravelry as Knittermancer. And yeah. So all of that's down below, as well as a few other ones. And I also want to add that, as always, down below I list not only the yarn that I am using, but also the pattern. I do link to a Ravelry project page if you are interested in clicking on the Ravelry project page, where I sometimes put notes if I change things. Otherwise, if I know of a link to the pattern that is off of Ravelry, I do link to that instead. Yeah. I may look into the future into putting all of my show notes onto a Tumblr, which is already listed down below. But we will see. I prefer to have them in the description box. That way it's still very accessible. So, yeah. I have only worked on one thing, so we will talk about this one thing, and we'll move things around, and then I don't know what will happen then. So the only thing I really worked on, the only thing I have worked on, let's put it that way, because that's really what's happening here, is a pair of socks. And I will put them on my little foot here. That way we get a better idea of what's going on. So currently I have them 2 at a time, and these are the Mountain Mama socks. But I still don't know the pattern. Wait, no, Barrel and Create? I think that's what her handle is right now. I just threw some wire. Oops. Yes, I think it's Barrel and Create. But I will pull this up. Bloom and Create, sorry. So they are the Mountain Mama socks by Bloom and Create. I know she also has a pair of cactus socks that are coming out at some point. And the yarn is Stress Knits on the favorite base, on Stacy's favorite base. And the colors are Palm Lines, Dahlia, and Mountain Mama. Now let me remove the sock blocker because this is already very awkward. So there we go. That's a better color representation for you. Let me do it this way. Better color representation for you. Palm Lines is a cream with very, very pale pink. It's more of a peachy pink than a like true pink. Kind of a fleshy tone, if you will. Then you have Dahlia, which is kind of a muted red mahogany color. Might be a smidge lighter than mahogany. And then you have Mountain Mama, which is a beautiful, like deep foresty green. It is, as I have referred to it, a neutral green. And yeah, I am on to the heel flaps. Let's see. There you go. I'm on to the heel flaps. Look, all the colors are showing up better because I'm blocking that window. I really should do something about that. So by next time, these should be done because I have worked on them exclusively. And then I think, next up, it could be another summer crop in this. I might cast on some socks in this. This being the Color Mix sock by Yarn Hero in Radioactive. This is Chromatic Yarns Flowers for Yasha on her sturdy sock, which is her BFL base, BFL nylon. Pocket watch, which I probably shouldn't leave there. Let me move that somewhere that's not as likely to just crash onto the floor. Or I might use some of my Holst yarn to make the Weekender Light by Andrea Mowry. The Super Secret Crop or Summer Secret Crop is by Jessie May. And I mean, really, that's all I have to show. I mean, I've turned the what I had left of palm lines because I wanted to compare just the size of them all. What I have left of palm lines into like a little tiny skein, and then here's what I have left of Dahlia. I mean, it's like the palm of my hand, or let's see, what do I have that's a better measurement that most people would understand? There is it next. Oh, there you go. There's it next to a pen. You know, just a standard like big pen. But I'll also turn this into a little skein like this soon. Actually, probably right after this episode. So these socks are for my brother Sebastian, and actually I can talk a little bit more. I went through a whole situation. So I've told you about the pattern. I've told you about the yarn. We're good. We know that stuff now. So what I've done, I did a tubular cast on both socks because it's 1x1 ribbing, so why not? I did the rib that was stated in the pattern, which I don't want to give too much away. I am knitting the 72 stitch version, so I know you can see the color I carried behind. So I started, and I'm still knitting, on US size 1s, which are 2.25. So I think 1.5s or 1.5 or 2.5. Yeah, so US 1s or 2.25 millimeter, 40-inch circular. My preference when I do 2 at a time. Except for, so I started one sock. So there clearly is where I was. I started one sock. I did the ribbing. And then I did the first little bit of the sock still on the size 1s. I did go through and knit the color work on the size 1, and it was too tight to get over my heel. I was like, that won't work. But I had already grabbed my 1.5s just in case. So I went up a needle size because stranded knitting, because this isn't a fair out pattern, but stranded knitting doesn't have as much stretch. So it's like, okay, we'll go up a needle size. So I had gone all the way through the green, right, through the green part of the color work. And then I ripped it back. I ripped back to the top before the color work. And then I went up a needle size, so I went up to the 1.5, and I wasn't going to go any higher than the 1.5 because at that point we would have started getting into not good territory. So this is all convoluted. On this sock, I started with this sock. I knit the ribbing. I started the sock. I swapped to the larger needle size, and I knit the color work because I was not about to try to balance 2 balls of yarn and 4 strands. That just would not have been good. Once I got through the color work and into the green, so the main color, I have to find my window, into the main color, I put this on my 9-inch circulars and I held it off to the side. And then I went and I did the same on the other sock, except I did not stick it on 9-inch circulars. As soon as I got to the green, I swapped onto my 40-inch circulars. And as I was going through on the rows after the chart, or the row immediately after what's in the charts, I picked up the other sock so that they were both the same length. They have the same amount of ribbing because I counted my rows. And so my socks match up perfectly. I otherwise have done everything as the pattern says. I thought about grading between the 72 and the 68-inch or 68 stitch. But I figured I'd just stick with the 72 so I didn't have to think. Or whatever the next size down was. It's going to go down to the next size, and I decided against that. So yeah, that is the Mountain Mama socks and the trials and tribulations with that. So I'm currently doing the heel flap as they call for in the pattern, which, I mean, even when you look at the pattern, you can kind of see it. There you go. Is a garter stitch heel flap, which is unique. Normally, I get more comfortable in my seat here. Normally, when I do a heel flap and gusset, we'll use these socks because they were right here. With still an end not woven in, but they're my socks, so I don't really care. There we go. I will do garter stitch along the edge. Typically I actually do less than what's called for in Erica Luter's patterns. But I will do garter stitch along the edge. And then whatever my slip stitch pattern is, typically I do use the like modified Aya Partridge look. Because I prefer that, and I figure it spreads out the double thickness a little bit better. So in theory, it should wear better. I have not tried that on a pair of just plain like superwash merino socks, but I've worn holes into superwash merino socks, and I don't consider myself particularly hard on my socks. So instead of a slip stitch pattern, it is a garter stitch heel flap, which I think is really cool, and really, I'm enjoying knitting them, but at the same time, I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, when will this be done? By the next time I record, clearly. We'll stick this. Okay, cool. So now I've moved my little bear up, and as I said, like, now I have 2 socks. I started with 1. And I think if you are like me, and I really only do this. Okay, I need to look up that in a second. I'll do that after I'm done here. Just got a text to look something up. I prefer to knit 2 at a time when I am knitting socks for other people, because then they're both done and I don't have to worry about them not matching up. Whereas for me, it's not as big of a deal. There's no need for perfection when it's me because they're my socks. Yeah. So I don't really think I have anything else to talk about because I didn't touch my blanket. And I mean, my finger is not as ghastly looking. I still have a bruise on that knuckle. And there might be some remnants of a bruise on the palm, but it's a lot better. Still just waiting for it to heal up all the way. Which, you know, you want to rest it, but at the same time, it's one of your fingers. It makes it hard, and I'm right-handed, so it's even harder. But it's a lot better than it was. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to talk about. So, I think I'm going to go. So, thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. You know, wash your hands, stay safe, put on a mask, wear your mask. If you definitely social distance, listen and amplify other people's voices where you can. And I think maybe next time I'll talk about the big thing happening in the, but I don't want to talk about that today. I think I'll pass because I need more time to kind of formulate my thoughts and ideas. So until then,